Greetings, everybody. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Stellaris Overlord. Habitable Worlds Survey. So, the Habitable Worlds Survey allows us to take an initiative to try to survey 8 habitable worlds for a greater benefit than denying it immediately, which just gives us immediate unity. So, choice 1 or 2. So in a small galaxy, it's actually pretty difficult, because I've turned down the habitable worlds considerably, to potentially get 8 habitable worlds surveyed. It might be possible, it might not. It really depends on how the galaxy shapes up, and I don't have enough information to say that it's going to be easy to do or not. But we can undertake the initiative, and it doesn't time out. It's just something that you do in the background. And eventually, if you end up surveying up to 8 habitable worlds, you get a large societal benefit, or I can turn it down immediately and just go, hey, give me the unity right now. I need the unity now. And Indodome, thank you for the resub. And cheers to you. Okay, it's a commendable initiative.
Situation log updated.
Another thing is, what music to use? In-game music or my own soundtrack? It's been a Stellaris soundtrack up until this point, but I'm going to let you vote on that as well. So you have 2.5 minutes to vote on that. Some of Stellaris' soundtrack, and there's a huge playlist here, as you can see. Some of it, I feel, is a bit grating, but let's play the Overlord music for now. Or maybe something added in more recently. So we're getting to the point where we are accumulating enough energy credits and minerals to build our first thing. So if you're wondering about the population, in 1 year, I will get 1 additional pop on Yoda Prime. Your pop growth depends on the population growth of your species and some of the research and structures that you have, but you can always check whether you're growing your population or assembling robots. Which means I've got a year to build another district to make sure that I always have employment. Now, given that I have a deficit of consumer goods, I think it would be really wise for me to get civilian industries. So what I'm going to do is buy a big chunk of minerals off of the global market, and then spend those minerals setting up civilian industries. And that will, in 1 year, which is right around the time that I get the new population, open up additional jobs. It opens up...
transmission.
How many jobs does it open up? I think 2. I can't even see. But it opens up a few jobs, and it will generate consumer goods for us so that I don't run out. Corensa's almost done being surveyed. And Himpra should be almost unsurveyed as well. You cannot annex territories into your empire until they're fully surveyed. So survey speed is why it is so important. Because the slower you survey, the slower you grow.
Receiving transmission. Receiving transmission.
They keep asking for embassies, and I'm going to keep turning them down. I'm going to be the black sheep of this vassalage family on purpose. Alright, let's substitute my own soundtrack. Pause that, and play my own. So, the songs that are playing are right there on the UI. So if you like it.
System charted.
Oh, and we found yet another archaeological site, a gas giant structure here as well. So there's 2 archaeology sites. There's the Grunyer ruins and the gas giant structure. And then this here is my construction ship, which I'm going to set up to build an outpost for 112 influence. So that's really the limiting factor. Right now I have 156, growing at 3.3 a month. And the way to build up additional influence is something called power projection. Power projection is basically how large your fleet is compared to the galactic average, more or less. So if I want to make more influence, the way to do this is for me to make more ships. The problem is, because I'm a Scalactorium, building ships is more expensive, and upkeeping them is more expensive, and my naval capacity is smaller. So it's going to be really difficult for me to have a decent power projection unless I put a lot of work into it. But I intend to. So let's build another Lore of the Noob, and then sell off some food, sell off some minerals to buy enough alloys to build one more Lore of the Noob. Now, if I really wanted to min-max this, before I signed up to be a Scholarium, what I could have done is queued up as many Corvettes as I could at the lower cost of 100 alloys per ship, rather than post-vassalage where it's 130 per ship. And here's my first tradition. So, what a tradition is a way to develop your society in a very impactful manner. So you have a choice of 11, right? Yeah. 11 different traditions that you can choose from, but only 7 slots that you can unlock. And I'm going to cover these very cursory because there's too many details to go on. So adaptability, more or less, is growing and adapting to your environments. So things like more food, more habitability, and being able to resettle cheaper. Diplomacy is more obvious. It's to be able to build federations with other powers and develop relationships and having more envoys to represent you. Discovery is survey and science and research speed. Domination is subjugating other empires. Expansion is growing faster and expanding faster. Harmony is it's kind of a mix. It's like stability and how many people are attracted to the ethos of your empire and how long your leaders live, that kind of thing. Mercantile is the amount of trade that you get from trade lanes and trade goods. Prosperity is mostly about like increasing the amount of mining output that you have and how like a tax reduction on structures that you've built. Subterfuge is spying. It's completely pointless to use in multiplayer or in single player. Supremacy is fleet combat, power, and the damage that you do to space stations. And then unyielding, supremacy is like military attacking. Unyielding is military defense, which is more starbases, stronger starbases, easier to defend your territory. So of these options, I'm going to curate a subset, which will be discovery, which is research and surveying. We'll also go with adaptability. One second, I gotta type these up. Discovery, adaptability, which is the food and habitability and how much building that you can do on planets. Expansion, the speed of expanding, and then this is going to be the adoption cost. So if we adopt discovery, we get the Edict map the stars, which we could enable to be able to find more anomalies and survey faster. And it also gives us researching anomalies increased by 20%. If we get adaptability, immediately we get 10% less housing usage. So people need fewer houses on planets, which means that planets can have a higher population, i.e. more productivity. If we adopt expansion, the colonies that we start develop 25% faster. I will also include a harmony. So the adoption of harmony is that the population requires fewer food and fewer minerals to upkeep. And then I'll do prosperity. And the adoption effect is that the mining station output goes up 20%. Now there's another thing too that's important to note, and this is me putting my thumb on the scale just a little bit, which is depending on the ethos of your government, and in my case it's egalitarian and materialistic, they might also desire specific traditions. So materialists, for instance, desire discovery. Egalitarians, on the other hand, as a faction or as a ethos, are more interested in the species not having any restrictions to population, migration, colonization rights, or stratification. So, for instance, if I had a stratified economy where I paid my workers very little and my specialists a lot, that would upset the egalitarians. Alright, so with that, you pick the first tradition. Discovery, adaptability, expansion, harmony, or prosperity. One of those 5. I'll give you 2.5 minutes to vote on that. And I unlocked that, I should mention, because of unity. I needed 300 unity to get my first tradition, but it goes up relatively exponentially, which each additional goal for unity costs more, or each additional tradition costs more and more unity. And then if we, let's say, if we did take on discovery, it also unlocks 5 more traditions inside the discovery tree. And then when you complete the entire tree, you get an ascension perk. And the ascension perk is another permanent perk that is, it can be huge. So an ascension perk here, like a big one, for instance, is Galactic Wonders, to be able to build a ring world or a Dyson sphere or a matter decompressor. Or another big one might be Flesh is Weak, to change our species from organic to cyborg, eventually to robotic. Or Colossus Project, to build basically a Death Star. So all of these ascension perks can dramatically impact the destiny of your empire. And they're also permanent. So I just saw a construction ship from the Prince Electorate here go here. So they're annexing this territory right now. That I am sure of. And what I'm hoping is if there is decent resources here in Rhadamant, I will try to annex that before they do. If Rhadamant there, or Rhadamant, is not very equitable, I will change gears and head south, trying to expand southbound as fast as I can. Alright, it's a runaway poll. Discovery definitely is going to win. So, upon adopting Discovery, that unlocks an extra edict called Map the Stars. So let's take a look at that. Map the Stars, when enabled, has an upkeep of 14 unity, but we have an edict fund of 20 unity, which means it would be free. And the benefit to that is we survey 25% faster, we discover anomalies at 10% increased chance, and we can see things moving around hyperlanes one more jump out. So it gives you a little bit of like defensive vision. And enabling it means that we're using up now 14 of the 20 edict fund to upkeep it. And then if you take a look here on your science ships, on show, where is it? Right there. I know it's tiny text, but it says anomaly discovery chance 10%, survey speed 60%. There's other modifiers. So the Map the Stars give us 25% of that 60% as its additive. One very important concept I want to drill home for new players is surveying and annexing bottlenecks. So a bottleneck is a system that requires an enemy or anyone to pass through to gain access to the hull. So for instance, in this cluster here, the bottleneck would be this unknown sector and this unknown sector. Because if I control these two, nobody can get inside. Oh, my goodness, ALS Gamer. Holy cow. Thank you for all the bits. Cheers. You're excited about Overlord? I personally have played it quite a few hours to learn the ropes. And in the last, like, 5 DLCs or so, it's one of the biggest ones. If you like to play with subjugation and vassalage. Are trade agreements still as buggy as it is in launch? You'll have to specify what you mean. I actually don't know what you mean.
Construction online.
So there we go. We have fully annexed Carenza. And... Gusius? I'm going to name this after you. Inside Carenza, we have 2 anomalies. Or no, 1 anomaly and 2 archaeology sites. But then we also have 2 planets, which gives societal research. So I'm going to send my construction ship to build research stations over both of them.
Incoming transmission.
A commercial pact, but again, I am completely ignoring any pacts from my overlord or his vassals. We would get 3 energy credits, they would get 12, as long as the deal is active. Now, another reason why I'm not signing on any commercial pacts or defensive pacts or any of those types of pacts, research pacts, is they do cost an upkeep of influence to stay on. So if I signed into commercial pact here, I don't actually think it tells me the cost, but it would cost me influence per month, which is yet another reason, which would then reduce the amount that I could spread to the stars. So there's that separate reason why I'm completely ignoring all diplomacy from them as well. So I could grow as fast as I possibly could. Now, one thing I should start to set up and save for is the colony ship. So as soon as I annex Himpra, I'll be able to colonize Himpra 2, which is a 70% habitable savanna world at 15 size. It has a very large amount of potential agriculture, so it could be my breadbasket world if I so choose. In order to save for that, I'm going to need a whole lot of consumer goods, which means that I'll likely need to either manufacture it once the civilian industries is done here on Yoda Prime, or to purchase it on the galactic market, which is probably what I'm going to do. But I'd like to get that colony ship out as soon as I can. So now, let me show you work allocation. So I've just built that civilian industry, and it gives 2 artisan jobs. So potentially 2 of the 29 people that live on Yoda Prime can work as artisans, turning minerals into consumer goods. If I take a look into a population, as you can see here, these are all the jobs that I have. So I have a science director, a politician, 2 researchers, 1 enforcer, 2 bureaucrats, 2 metallurgists, 2 artisans, 6 clerks, 2 technicians, or 4 technicians, 4 miners, and 4 farmers. You can prioritize certain jobs to take priority over other jobs. So for instance, if I really wanted more clerks, I could click this and it would star it, and it pulls 2 technicians off of their technician jobs and puts them into clerk jobs instead. I don't actually want to do that. Alternatively, you could shut down work. So if I, let's say, didn't need all 4 farmers, I could hit this to reduce the amount of farming jobs, disabling it, and then triggering that farmer to work somewhere else. So you can manage the work levels in order to match the needs of your colony. Also, it's important to note that the update to the amount of consumer goods that I'm generating won't be updated until the end of the month. So the additional artisans that I'm employing to make more trade goods, or consumer goods rather, that number won't be reflected up here until I hit February 1st, which is why it looks like I'm still in the negative, but I can guarantee you I am not. All right, let's reset these works so that I don't keep one of the farming jobs disabled.
System charted.
Incoming transmission.
All right, so Roll Samant here is a tiny little system with just 2 energy credits. Completely not worth annexing. I don't care about it at all. So instead, I'm going to go over to Phonak here and survey that to see if it's worth anything. The reason why I'm not going over Rol Samat is I have a very limited amount of influence that I can spend to add to my territories, and I need to spend wisely. So grabbing a system with almost no strategic value and very little economic value would be a complete waste of my influence. Speaking of influence, let's make yet another Corvette, Allura the Noob class ship, because as you can see here, my power projection is now 0.48, up from 0.3 because I built some more ships. The more ships that I build, the more power projection that I get, and the more influence that I get. So whenever it is possible to make yet another ship, I should. And here we go. Now it is updated, and I have a surplus of 11 consumer goods a month. Oh, first alloy trade? I've already done it. So if I'm saving up for... If I am saving up for a colony ship... Actually, let's call this the Yoda shipyard. Colony ship will require 200 alloys, 200 consumer goods, and 200 food. Which means that I can play with my food. That sounds strange. But I can sell off a lot of food because I have more than I need for the colony ship. So I'm going to start shuffling my resources around to try to maximize the amount of influence that I get. Which means I'm going to sell off a whole bunch of my minerals as well to buy alloys to make yet another Corvette. Another reason to build up a rather large navy, although you will be taxed out the nose for it, is that neighboring powers... Oh, yeah, that's my fault. I'll explain what just happened there in a second. Neighboring powers will analyze your potential navy strength, and if you have a strong navy, they're far less likely to go to war with you. They're far less likely to mess with you. So if you don't want to be messed with, having a strong, tough navy and good defenses will keep you safe. So not only does it help with the amount of influence that I'm making, it will also help in the long run with protecting my boundaries. So what just happened there is this construction ship had queued up to build both research stations, but because I sold off a whole lot of minerals, all of a sudden the minerals that I would have used to build that research station were sold, and as a result, the queue to build this research station had canceled. So resources have been refunded because I couldn't afford it. So I have to wait until I get 100 minerals, which will be like 2 more months.
Anomaly detected. Receiving transmission. Situation log updated.
Alright, Phonak here has very few planets, so it's quite possible that this is a dud of a solar system to annex as well. And then I was just given a special situation called the Sublight Exploration Probes. Several Sublight Exploration Probes were dispatched from Yoda Prime to neighboring systems before we had mastered faster-than-light travel. They must be recovered before they fall into hostile hands. So if I click this track on map, it will show me physically where they are in the galaxy. So there's one here, 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 and here. A lot of the times when you do this, the probes might actually be in enemy territory, which means that you will either have to have open borders with that other civilization to be able to travel to the probe, or go to war with them to annex it or fight your way through. In my case, I don't really know if there is a enemy that has this in their territory, but these other zones here are well within the sphere of influence of my Overlord and his vassals, which means that I'm not likely to run into trouble getting to these probes. I will mention, however, that the probes sometimes requires a navy, without spoiling too much. So Phonak here has 4 energy credits. Oh, wow. Look at the amount of resources in Ynessa. So it has, so far, 6 minerals, 2 physics, 2 societal, and something called exotic gases, which is a strategic resource that we'll need later. Plus trade value.
Online.
So compared to Phonak, Ynessa's so much better of a system. Oh. Taisato is a substance abuser now, the surveyor at Phonak. So they're gonna die younger. They're only 42, so they're not gonna die anytime soon, but yeah, they won't live a long, long life anymore. Drug problems, yep.
System surveyed.
So Phonak's actually a pretty wealthy system. And I am likely going to want to annex it. Now, one of the reasons why I'm not going to rush to annex it right now is I can stop the Prince Electorate from getting there by closing my borders to the Prince Electorate. So if I see the Prince Electorate here send a research ship there, what I can do is I can click on them and go close borders, and that will stop them from sending a construction ship to it because they have to go through Gusius here. So it's not time sensitive necessarily to get Phonak, and therefore I think it's more important to get Ynessa and to travel southeast to this spot and that spot. These 2 bottlenecks. That's way more important. And also to annex Himpra, because Himpra is going to be a colony of mine. Right at this point, I need 62 more alloys in order to get a colony ship, so let's buy some of those. There we go. Colony ship. If you have multiple species on your planet, you can select what colonist you want to build, but obviously we're just the Yoda, so we're going to build a Yoda colony ship for Himpra. Now, the other factor is I'm also going to need alloys in order to build the starbase to annex it and put it into our territory. So I'm going to need to shuffle more resources around here in a minute to purchase alloys in order to be able to even build the space station.
Receiving transmission.
All right, new tradition. I am going to pick to boldly go, which increases the survey speed by additional 35%. And then if my science ships come under attack, it increases the chance that they can disengage from the fight by 50%. The alternative would be to go science division, increasing the amount of research alternatives and increasing the level cap. Research alternatives I already have a whole bunch of because I'm a Scholarium as a technocracy, so I have a ton of research alternatives. That's not really all that important. And the scientist level cap is also not immediately important because our scientists are nowhere close to their current cap, so increasing the cap by 2 is completely unnecessary, at least for now. And up here you can see I get the next one in 26 months, and it costs me 448 unity. Alright, taking a look, I only need 20 more alloys, and I could add that now. Done. My governor also just became a substance abuser. Oh, come on, guys. Stop doing so many drugs.
System surveyed.
How's research going? Let's take a look here in a second. So in terms of research, I am about 2 years out, a little longer, for the 3 starting research that I've chosen. It's the stress of being a vassal? Yeah, I suppose. Once we have Himpra annexed, I'm going to send my construction ship over to Himpra 6, because it has more resources to exploit than the star or this planet, or moon. I guess it's a moon. SCOD! Whoa! SCOD is full of stuff. So, if you have systems like this that are completely chock full, and it's time sensitive that you survey them, you can have multiple surveyors surveying one system. And I'll do that in this case. So just so that you can see what that looks like.
Construction
So
online.
anytime a surveyor gets to the first thing that they're surveying, the next surveyor will subsequently skip it. So now these 2 surveyors are doubling up their efforts to fully survey SCOD so that I can know about it sooner. It's actually not time sensitive, so this is actually not that necessary, because the limiting factor of annexing SCOD is my influence and not my surveying. But I just wanted to demo that you can have multiple surveyors surveying the same thing with basically no penalty or deficit. Oh, and we found volatile motes, which is a strategic resource in SCOD. 2 of them, which is very good. And the colony ship is ready to go. So I'm going to right-click on Himpra. Or actually, I'm going to tell them to enter the orbit, because I have to raffle off Himpra. So I'm going to reset eligibility here, just so that everybody that has won things already is eligible for Himpra, and I'm going to raffle it off once that colony ship actually physically gets there. The next thing I want to queue up is a holotheater, which will add amenities to my home planet, making people happier and therefore more productive. So there we go. I am going to replace the commercial zone with a holotheater rather than to use the last open building slot, because I intend for this last open building slot to be either a research lab or a Chthon monument for either research or Unity. And yes, it will be chat raffled.
Anomaly detected.
Alright, here's the colony ship. Coming in. And like I said, as soon as it gets there, it will be waffled. Alright. Giveaway says Sylvanti. So Sylvanti, you're going to become the star system. And then this will become Sylvanti Prime. I will capitalize it for you. Congrats.
Establishing colony.
And there it is, our first colony. And because we started a colony, we gain 492 engineering research immediately. Then the colony goes into a development phase. So until right now, it's 2204. It's the it's June 22nd, 2204, and until February 1st, 2207, it will be developing as a colony. So it won't function as a colony yet. It's a proto-colony. I'm also going to try to save up to build a starport on Sylvanti, which I have not yet done yet. I'm going to send this surveyor out. And then this surveyor this way.
System
I'm having
charted.
them split up to the two bottlenecks, here and here. Or, better yet, here and here would be even better bottlenecks. So, Scud, despite having tons of asteroid belts, ended up not that wealthy of a solar system. Unless the anomaly, the life signs anomaly here, is going to yield something interesting.
Construction online.
The Sylvanti system has been fully constructed and mined. So we have minerals and energy credits rolling out of there. And next up will be Yanessa.
Anomaly detected.
And I am just continuing to ignore anomalies. Oh, here is a continental world, rather large at size 25, but it is the wrong planet type. It is a wet climate, not a dry climate, which we prefer. So in order to colonize it, either I have to put robots there or to terraform it. Likely terraform it. But it is a really large planet. That's a good one to find. So on Sylvanti, I'm going to build a starport. A starport will allow me to add... Well, let me back up. Each solar system or star system that I have annexed has a tiny little outpost. An outpost doesn't allow you to build any modules. It doesn't allow you to build really anything at all. If you upgrade it to a starport, it allows you to start specializing what kind of starport you want. Whether it's a trade hub, a shipyard, an anchorage system, a bastion. So I am adding a starport at Sylvanti because Sylvanti is a inhabited solar system. And I am likely going to place anchorages there. And what an anchorage does is it increases the maximum naval capacity in your empire, allowing me to go above 14 ships without having to pay a ridiculous amount of taxes. And I just got my first research. So if we click here at researched, we can see what researched last. And it was nanomechanics, which increases the amount of engineering research I get from researchers by 20%. All of the others is just starting tech. So, for next research here, the ones that I am drawn to are either geothermal fracking, which increases the amount of minerals I get from miners and starbase constructions, or zero-G refineries, which increases the mining station output and allows me to build nebula refineries. I think in this instance, geothermal fracking is probably more resources. The other thing I want to look at is, oh yes, we do have the ability to change scientists. So I am going to hire Yoram Den Badir, who is a industry specialist, and stick him in the role of my engineering research. So here, as you can see, he has a bonus of 15% increased research speed when he's researching industry, and geothermal fracking is in industry research. And what that means is it frees up this scientist here, Fuglesix, to do other things. And I'm going to employ him to do other things here in a minute. But I'm going to raffle off that scientist, and it's going to Big C Panda. Alright, so that other scientist, in order to put him to work, I am going to need another science ship. So in order to afford another science ship, I'm going to sell a bunch of consumer goods, buy some alloys, and build a science ship. And what I'm going to have him do first is to go to this anomaly, the unusual energy readings, and analyze it to figure out what it is and what benefit it can provide me. And Needless, thank you for the sub. Cheers. Ooh, I have pending unemployment here in my home world. So I'm going to build an alloy foundry. An alloy foundry converts minerals into alloys, and because I'm having to buy a lot of alloys off of the global market, this will save me some money in the long run. And will employ 2 of my population as metallurgists. And then if we take a look here, my pop will grow in 10 months, and this forge will be built in about 12. So I will have maybe 2 months of someone being unemployed. Not a big deal.
System surveyed.
Alright, so here's the ship that Fugal 6 is going to man, and we're going to right-click to research anomalies at Gusius. I'm also going to preemptively close my borders with this Prince Electorate up here, so that they can't possibly get Phonak. Phonak will be locked to them. Hey, Mr. Snipes.
Anomaly detected.
Thanks for the resub. How are you liking the DLC so far? And they, in return, close their borders with me. You can kind of see the orange trade lines here. This indicates that the borders are closed. Whereas if it's green or cyan or whatever, it's open. So it does mean that in the short run, I can't travel to these 2 survey locations to find the probes that I sent out, which is part of the sublight exploration probes. But generally speaking, as long as you are on good terms with your neighbors, if I open my borders up with them, they will return the favor and open their borders with me. So when I have secured Phonak and they can't possibly steal it from me, I can then swing my borders open and they will do the same probably within the month, and then I can get to those 2 extra spots. You like the new orbital rings? Yeah, the orbital rings is a really cool feature of Overlord. Very cool feature.
System surveyed.
Alright. Next month, there it is. I'm going to be able to annex Yanessa, and that's yet another giveaway, so good luck to you all. Once it is added, I will raffle it off.
System surveyed.
Oh, and I have found one of the probes. This is one of the original sublight probes that I sent out. And no matter what I do, they turn hostile. Nice. Yes, we made it.
Situation log updated.
So here's what happens. That probe goes haywire and tries to shoot me. And my science ship needs to get out of there, but I'm going to send my Task Force Bosca. Actually, you know what? It's not called that. It is the Task Force Siddhartha. Siddhartha Gaia, which is a really funny name for like a combat force, given who Siddhartha is or was. But yeah,
technology discovered.
I'm now sending my navy over there to destroy this modified probe gone wild. And instead, I'm going to take a different route. Here, let me... Is it coming towards me? No, it's just sitting there. So what I'm going to do instead is click this button, which is a fleet stance of passive. So if it's evasive, it means that if there's hostiles in the system, your science ship will exit ASAP. If it's passive, it just won't engage. And I'm going to travel around the probe and jump to the next system so I can keep surveying uninterrupted. In Gusius, this anomaly led to a microsingularity, which adds 3 physics research to this system that I was analyzing, which is this barren world. So now I can send a construction ship back there to exploit the 3 physics research. And then Fugal 6 is going to do the anomaly of interference, which is on the star. Okay, I got another tradition. So it's a choice between research station output increased and research from starbase constructions increased, or level cap. So again, databanks uplinked will be my next tradition. You've been watching Stellaris Overlord, which originally streamed live on Twitch May 17th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to all my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel. I'll catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, everybody.